Hello and welcome. Today I'm back on the plot and I'm hoping to plant out some garlic. I went to the garden centre and bought some fresh garlic for this year, varieties I haven't grown before. But before I do that, I really need to trim and have a quick tidy up everywhere, because let me show you how the paths are looking, because they really need a sorting out. So the pathways between my beds have all gotten a little bit out of hand. So I just need to spend a little half an hour or so getting them back into a good looking state. And then I might tidy up a few of these beds, take out some things and generally tidy up. Because as we all know, everything always looks much better for a mow or a trim. So I'll get on and do that and I'll show you what I've got when I'm done. So annoyingly, it turns out that my strimmer is short of petrol. So I've got to go home in an hour anyway. So I'll fill it up and I'll come back in a bit. So I thought what I'll do is I'll get on with clearing away some of these old deadhead in the flowers, and I'll just work my way along the borders and take out the bamboo canes and things like that. So it wasn't ideal, but there's always something else you can do, isn't there? It's coming to the end of a season for a lot of things now, so I'll just be ruthless and take a lot of things out. Well, I've cut this back now and deadheaded where I feel appropriate. There's still some flowers coming on here, so I'll leave it because it is a lovely splash of yellow. I was thinking I needed to tie it all in, but it seems quite supportive of itself, so I'll just leave it like that. I just deadheaded those and I'm just going to take up the weeds now from this bed. This bed has seen a lot of ferreting in. I think the rabbits like this bed where I put in the tubers, you know, the tulips and the daffodils last year, because they really seem to like digging up everything I put in here. Well, as this bed smoothed out a bit now, all the weeds have gone. Hopefully it'll stand out more than the pathway now, and when I get the strimmer working again, it'll look better. It's actually been a few weeks since I filmed what I just showed you, because we've just had loads of rain every Monday, which is the only day I can get down here at the moment. I've been rained off, so I shall try and continue with what I was doing, which is to take out these poles and tidy up these side beds. Then we'll move on to clearing away the tomato plants and hopefully planting the garlic. So I'm really hoping the weather's going to hold today, because I've got an awful lot I need to get done, or not need to get done, but I want to get done. You know, I need my broad beans to go in, I need my garlic to get in, and I've got some daffodils I could plant, and generally I just want to tidy it up so that it doesn't look like I've abandoned it for the winter, because I've still got some things growing down here, and I will be doing lots of jobs down here over the winter. So let me get tidying and I'll show you what I'm doing as I tidy. I'm clearing away the alyssum in this bed because I want to plant some daffodils in here. So I'm afraid they had to go because I couldn't plant around them. They were just too big. That'll do for that bed. This courgette plant is sadly at its day now, but we did get a lot from here. So I'm very grateful for what we got. And now it's time to eat our way through the squashes that I've grown for the winter. This is going to take quite a bit of weeding, but there's no nasty, you know, like nettles or anything in here by the look of it. It's all just this, is this chickweed? I don't know what this is called, but it's going to take me a while. Well, we are getting there slowly, guys. It is taking a while, but hopefully it'll all be done soon. I'm trying to get as much of the roots out as I can, but they do go down quite a bit, I think. But once it's done, it shouldn't come back for the winter anyway. Well, that's all done now. I just want to slightly edge the bed a bit to make it easier to see. I did strim down here, but that was about 3 weeks ago, and it's come back a bit now. And I planted some foxgloves, and by the look of it, it's only this one that survived. I think I put 4 in this bed, but only one seems to have made it through. Oh, that looks much better now. Just trying to get an edge, more defined edge on it. Yeah, happy with that. My spoils bucket is full here, and of course, before I can put in the compost heap, I've got to do some work in the compost heap. So let me show you what I've got to do now. So the middle one, which I was using, is now full. So I've been putting all the bits of wood just in this end bay whilst it wasn't in use. But now, of course, I need it to be in use. So I just need to clear out all that wood from there so that I can put the spoils and create a new compost bin. Well, not create a new compost bin, but get a new compost bin going. So thank you to everyone who commented about my brassica cage disaster and gave me some advice on what I should do. I took all the sort of like advice into account, and I've decided I'm going to take it down and build a wooden one. I think it would just be easier. I would feel more confident. It's on the wonk and the metal has got bent in places that I don't think I can get it back. So I'm quite happy to take it down and start again with it. That would make me happier. I would feel like if I made a brassica cage, I would feel like it would stand by itself for a longer time than that. I would always be worried that would collapse again. So that's the plan for that. But thank you everyone for your comments, because I did really appreciate them, and it did give me a lot of pause for thought about how to repair what's there. But I think I'm just happier with wood, in all honesty, rather than metal. So that's the plan. I will at some point need to build something or come up with a way of storing this wood so it has a cover over it, but that will have to wait for another day. Some of this wood is quite rotten, so I'll have to go through it at some point and sort out what I'm going to keep and what I'm not. Oh, I found some handy sized netting that I might use to cover some of the crops I'm going to sow. Forgot about that. There we go. It didn't take too long to sort out. And what's at the bottom are clumps that I took out when I put my beds in. There's like clumps of turf at the bottom, and I've just covered it with the cardboard so I can just put the spoils from my basket in here now. Just like that. And now it also means that when I pull out my tomato plants, they can go in there too. So this is all ready for use now. So little by little these jobs are getting ticked off the list. I'm just going to use my shears to cut them up into smaller bits, just so they rot down quicker. Especially the courgette plant, that went in quite big, so they can all be little small pieces now. I've got these morning glory plants to clear away here as well. They didn't come to anything, sadly. The rabbits got them. They're coming out quite easy, which means they didn't really root very well. I'm not really sure why. The ones at home did quite well. As you know, we didn't get many flowers off them, but they did root quite well. I said this before, where I can, I like to hand weed rather than use a hoe, because I just find that you get more of the roots out if you hand weed. And I also find they don't come back as quick either, the weeds. I've got these beds done now, and I'm really pleased with the end result. They just look a lot neater, although there's not a lot growing in them anymore. What is growing is now really popping, and I've tidied everything up, and I've even taken the sunflowers out that were down the bottom there, and sadly I still think I've got some sort of rabbit here, because there is some digging still happening, or there was, around the bottom of the sunflower. So I think there are still something like a rabbit in here, because I don't think a cat would have, you know, a cat covers itself over, doesn't it? So I think it has to be a rabbit, but I've only seen one bit being dug. And then in the tomato beds, I had some marigolds still growing, so I just transplanted those 4 plants into here just to give a bit more of a splash of colour. So it's looking better than it did at the start. I'm over by my tomatoes now, and these have definitely had it. They are coming out today. The bamboo canes are coming out. The structure I put out, which is now on the wonk, is coming out. And I'm going to clear all the weeds out of these beds, and then we're going to plant these up. Well, these 2 beds have now been cleared and they're ready to be planted in. I will get some compost to go on top of this because the level has dropped quite a bit, but the level on here is fine. So I'm going to plant my broad beans in this side, and I'm going to plant some mustard, like half a bed of mustard there. I found some onions when I was clearing out this bed, so I'll take them home and we can use them. But let's get on with doing these beans. So I've got 3 different varieties here. I've got broad bean Windsor, Eleanor and Aquadulce Claudia. So I'm going to plant these 2. I'm going to plant all of them, I think, and then whatever room is left I'll plant up the Aquadulce Claudia. There's like a hawk or something out. I'm not very good with birds, but there's something circling over there. So I'm just making holes to pop the beans into, and then I will cover the bed with netting, because I was told by a fellow plot neighbour that all of his broad beans got eaten by mice one year. They ate all of them. He said he sold about 700 in the end because he kept resowing them. So I shall cover these over when I'm done. So I'm going to start with this first row, which is the Windsor variety, and I've only really got enough for 1 row, which is handy. So we'll see what them ones are like, and then just cover it over like so. And then the next one here is going to be Eleanor, and I've got quite a few of these by the look of it. I was sent these by Ali from my rusty garden last year. Didn't get round to planting them all, so I'm planting them again for next year. So I'll mark that row there, that row there. I had 3 beans left over. So what I'll do I'll pop them in here, and I'll plant them at home in my greenhouse in some pots, and then if any don't come up, I can use these to fill the gaps of the ones that don't come up. And if all of these come up, then I'll just grow those broad beans on in a pot in the garden next spring. So I got to here. So I got 1 row of Windsor, 3 rows of Eleanor, and then 5 rows of Aqua Dulce Claudia. So I'll get on and do the rest, and then we'll move on to the mustard. So I had 12 in that packet, which means I've still got 8 stations to fill. But I think I have got some more broad beans at home, because I remember I did save some 2 seasons ago. So I can root around and try and find them and plant them, unless I've got some other ones at home. But let's get on with the mustard now, because we're beginning to lose the light. Here are the mustard plants. They've been growing at home on the windowsill for a while, so I'll be happy to get these in. These are so ready to get in. These mustard plants do grow fairly big, so I'm going to do the same spacing as the broad beans, 4 in a row. They're roughly about 20 centimetres between each spacing. I did think about doing 5, but I think I'll be pushing it a bit. I gotta try and net this bed before I go home, and it's getting really dark. Oh well. First one in, just a few more to go. Oh, right, that's those 6 in. A couple more to go. Well, I got these covered in case there's any mice around, and I've got my mustard covered in case there's any rabbits around. So it is getting dark now, so I'm going to pack up and go home, and hopefully I can get the garlic in tomorrow. And my last job down here today is to get my garlic in, which is always a bit exciting. And I'm more excited, well, I'm just as excited to be harvesting these, which are Greek gigantes, and I've been waiting for them to dry on the, what do you call it? Any minute now, Bethan. Come on, any minute now. Think of the word. There you go. Well, the plant, that's not the right word, but to dry on the vine? No, that's not right either, is it? But I was waiting for them to dry anyway. So it's not like a great crop, but what it is, it allows me to have seed for next year, which will hopefully be a great crop. Let's see what I've got in here. So there you go, there were 2 beans in there. So I'll probably maybe get about 20 beans in total, which is plenty, because I probably only need about 8 plants next year. But let's wait and see what next year brings first. So I'll do exactly the same as I did with the other beds. I'll get on and I'll clear it. I'll take the frames down, and I'll weed it, and then I'll bring you back when I'm planting the garlic. And now it's time to plant my garlic. I've got 2 kinds of garlic here. I've got one messindrome that has got 2 cloves in the bag, and then I've got Solent Wight, which has just got 1 clove. So I'm not sure actually if I'll fit it all in this bed. If I don't, I'll plant it in a pot or a few pots at home. I don't want to clog up another bed, as it were. I haven't done my planting plan for next year yet, but I just want to keep things to one bed really. Otherwise it gets a bit complicated, you know, getting the timings right of what to take out and what to plant in. These are big bulbs, these are. There's the size of 4 cloves. So they are really, really big cloves, which should give us big garlic. I'm not really sure if it's true that the bigger the bulb, the bigger the clove of garlic grows, but I just thought I'd show you the size because they are quite big. I always find with garlic, it's more the distance you leave between each clove that makes it bigger. But maybe, you know, it's a combination of a big clove and it having lots of space to grow that makes it good. I've bought fresh bulbs this year because my garlic that I grew this year didn't grow all that big because I transplanted it from my home garden to here about April, maybe no, March, February time. So I think because I disturbed the roots, they did grow, but they didn't grow as well as they have done other years. So I thought, oh, I'll start again and, you know, got a better chance then, haven't you? And then hopefully I can keep this garlic going for the next few years. So I've got about 20 centimetres in either direction and I'm just planting them out in a grid fashion. And about 10 centimetres deep at least. Pop that in there to mark where that is. And then if I just pop around and sow the other side. So I'm just popping them in as deep as I can really. I find it better to make the holes first because then you don't damage the root of the, you know, the base of the garlic. Just pop that in there now because I'm starting a new one. I haven't actually written on the labels though. That would be too helpful, wouldn't it? I've just put them in to mark where the differences are. So luckily I got exactly 12 out. Well, actually I got 13, but the last two were a bit soft in the middle. So I thought, oh, I'll plant 2 garlic cloves in one hole. So, oh, that's not very good. That's rotten. So maybe we won't have enough to fill a whole bed. This one looks better. I wonder what happened with that one. Maybe I shall buy some supermarket garlic and do that experiment because everybody says that supermarket garlic grows fine. So rather than get some other one, I'll just use supermarket one for the rest of it. But anyway, so this one is that messindrome. So I'll just pop these in like I did before. So if I put a marker in here, and then I didn't have enough to do this last one, so I'll have to do one of the shop bought ones in this row. But that's all right, isn't it? As long as I remember. Oh, that's not very good at all, is it? Put that in the, I'll put that in the compost now. Bit disappointing. Anyway, I'll cover these over now. I can't remember if I said I brought some compost from my compost heap in the garden at home down, and I top dressed this bed with some fresh compost. So should have enough in it now to keep it going. I won't add any bloodfish and bone or anything like that to this bed now. It should be enough with like an inch of compost on it. I've just left these spots so I can see where I need to plant the other garlic when I get it, exactly the same as I did with the broad beans. And we'll just head down to the wonky old brassica cage because I want to show you my pak choi, because I've never had any luck growing pak choi before, and this year it's looking good. So here it is, the Leaning Tower on the wonk. But look at these, aren't they growing well? Like I said, I've never had much luck with them before, so I'm really happy with that. And also the kale is looking good as well, which I was hoping it would get off to a good start so that it'll keep growing through the winter. And then everything else in here is looking good as well, including the weeds. But hey, I'll get around to doing that at some point. I am really pleased to have got those jobs done. They were kind of like the essential jobs that I needed to get done over the winter. I can work on the brassica cage as and when. That's like not, well, it is quite important because it's leaning over and I don't want it to damage anyone who is going down to their allotment. But, you know, that's a job that can be done at another date. I kind of needed to get these garlic and these broad beans in so that they could grow and you know, get their roots down and establish themselves for the winter. So I'm really pleased I've got that done. I'm also pleased that I've tidied up the plot because it does look quite good now when you drive up to it. The flowers that are there add a lovely splash of colour just here and there. So I'm really happy with how it's looking. Let's go home and I'll get some jobs done around the garden. So you know when you have so many jobs to do and you don't quite know where to start because there's stuff to do everywhere. Well, I thought I'd make a start on taking out these tomatoes and sorting through the tubs that are here. And then the spare seed plants that I've got, I can then put in the tubs. So that's the plan. These tomatoes did quite well. We had a few pickings off them. But the best tomatoes were those 4 I bought from the garden centre. That have been growing in my greenhouse. Even the other ones that were in my greenhouse didn't live up to those ones, which makes you wonder really if it's worth buying from the garden centre every year rather than growing from seed. I have to think about that for next year. So these have well and truly added now. And I thought I do have the greenhouse to clear out, you know, and swap over to the winter greenhouse. But I thought I'd do this while the weather's still good for me to do. Because the greenhouse I can do on a rainy day if I need to. So I should try and get as many outdoor jobs done as I can. These collapsed and fell over and I could never get them to put them upright again. They just kept falling over. Feels like some things I've tried this year have been a real uphill battle. There's a few things growing in these pots along here. And then there's some that are just totally weedy. So it'll be nice to get this done and tidied up because it is looking a bit of an eyesore now. Well, I've tidied away all the tomatoes now and I've weeded all the pots and they're ready to go. Let me bring you in for a closer look and talk you through what I'm going to plant here. A lot of these pots will go in my greenhouse once I've cleared away the tomatoes and things. But for the time being, these pansies and this alyssum were in the pots. So I'm just going to pop them around the front and grow them in my tree tubs. The marigolds I'll take down to the allotment and plant them in those borders like I did the other ones. I've got dill, 3 dill plants growing in each of these. I think I'm going to put mustard in those 10-litre pots there. I've got this lettuce that's desperate to go in and some corn salad. So I'll pop them into some of these. I've also got the mustard that I planted out yesterday. That can go in one of these pots as well. Then I've got Swiss chard, which has been growing here all summer. As you can see when my chickens get out of their coop, they decimated this plant, but it did grow back. I got more dill here, one spare pot here which I'll probably put some mizuna in, and here is mizuna. It's growing really well, makes a nice pesto. Got some kale growing here. That's probably ready to harvest a couple of those leaves. And there's some more corn salad, a lettuce that's bolted, and some more corn salad there. And then these 3 tubs here, I'll pop some of the other lettuces that I've got left over in there. And then this has got some hyacinths growing in them, which is just beginning to emerge. So I'm not going to put anything else in there. All these pots are really wet. The compost is really wet in them. So they should settle okay. And I've taken them out of their saucers. They were in saucers, which has just, made the watering even worse. But it was handy for the summer to have my tomato plants in saucers, so that when I watered them, they stayed moist for longer, and whatever water ran out of the bottom was captured in the saucers and then reabsorbed. But now we're coming to the winter, don't really need that because the weather is, more inclement. So I've put in 3 mustards there, and I do find these pots a lot easier than these trays. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use these this much, because I find they seem to damage the roots getting them out because they're so firm. You can't squeeze the bottom to pop the plant out. Maybe it's me, I'm doing it wrong. Maybe there's a technique. I haven't figured it out yet. But what I usually end up doing is getting a label and going around the edge of it and then scooping it out. But it's not really ideal. But anyway, so you see, there's not that much root on there, which for the amount of growth, I would have expected more root, but it is what it is. Anyway, I'll get on and plant up these lettuces and, other various leaves. And like I said, when I've sorted out the greenhouse, I'll probably move all these pots in there then, so they've got a little bit more shelter over the winter. Because last winter or the winter before, I can't remember which one, I grew 10-litre pots like this in my little cold frame, and we must have had about 3 or 4 pickings of mustard, which I turned into a pesto, and it was really lovely. And in the depths of winter, it was really nice to have something from the garden that was so fresh as that. So hopefully I can repeat the same this year. So here they are now, all planted up. I'm very happy with having got this done. So I've got mizuna and mustard there, corn salad and lettuce there. The lettuce is called Apache. Mustard there, but that's a bit dubious. I'm not sure they will pull through. chicory here and chicory here, and then mizuna there, and I had some kohlrabi left over, so I've just bunged that in there. I'm going to pop round to the front now and plant out these pansies and alyssum, and maybe I'll make a start on doing something around there. But I'm really pleased with what I've got done here. It feels like a lot of the jobs that I need to get done, I have got done, and then that leaves me free to, you know, progress the allotment on by building the things I need to build, put in the more beds, clearing some of the ground. You know, I got quite a lot of ground left to clear, so it's all looking good. I've been Bethan, and this has been a lovely job.